Hello. Hello. Welcome. Yeah. So the topic tonight, just kind of I don't even know. I don't have the this is kind of an intuitive discussion mixed with my hopes and how I feel this could play out in the next 100 years. It's going to be a lot sooner. It's probably like 2 years. But yeah, mosiach, Messiah, or Antichrist. And I think if, one of the big things of the division between the religions is kind of a joke between like Islam and Christianity and Judaism. It's just laughable. It's just power politics. They're talking about the same thing. It's the same vengeful motherfucker that will come backhand you if you don't act right, but is very forgiving. And I think the bigger impact is the prophets themselves that show up. And what I'd like to see, I would hope Mosaic would bring is more learning and like interreligious relations and like in the past, saints and sheikhs and rabbis would like build upon the original religious texts, like the the Bible and the Torah and the Quran are the foundation, but the successing what's the word chronological prophets afterwards generally are just building upon those truths. And I would really like to see a prophet who can bring some spiritual awareness to our modern world, because the religious teachings are based on stuff from before technology. And yeah, not only that, but we're dealing with a flood of demonic force. Realistically, based on the nature of society, it would make sense that there's an antichrist coming who will punish us for our sin more than a enlightening Messiah. But from what I could see, the antidote to that would be reviving the teachings. And I think that most people that aren't like in the church or like teaching these kinds of things, they read the like main text and they don't really get into like the fathers and sheikhs and things like that. And seeing as God is infinite, we could easily keep building upon these ideas. And like based on what I've read from Rudolf Steiner, there is a lot more out there that we have yet to learn. Like he was on the front line of some very new thinking that maybe they just never made it public. But the spirit realm and such, and astral projection, most of the things that he's written about, I've been able to do and experience, which justifies it and makes it very real to me. And so in Islam, They talk about in the end of days there will be the day of Qima. Yeah, Qiymah or something like that. Qima, and they talk about that's when there will be almost no knowledge. And I can see how that's working out is like we're losing our capacity to think because we're so overstimulated, and like the way we're taught in school is just like regurgitation, and there's no like out of the box thinking. And I'd really love to see a Messiah that comes preaching like not only like knowledge of the things, but like how do we rank ourselves, and like how do you like bring accountability to your sin, and like how do you account for that, and like how do you discern the good from evil, because evil is very strange. It's very subtle, and more than that, like I think evil has a way of burrowing into the best people and making them think they're a lot worse than they are, while letting the actual evil people think they're freaking not so bad. Like there's some kind of inversion effect, and like we're right at the point where we're starting to understand cosmology and the cosmos, and I personally, it's like in my foresight for the next 1,000 years, it's hard not to imagine us going into space. And I've been blessed enough to like astral project beyond the firmament. And what is that? What was it like? Steiner talks about there are beings of these different spheres, and like perhaps when you astral project like that, you're becoming initiated into like different aspects of humanity. Because G.G. Young talks about that, like the materialist view of space is like uh, wrong. Like the Elon Musk idea of like going to Mars and colonizing it is not like why those planets are there. But at the same time, like there's plenty of evidence on Mars of like anomalies and strange things, as if at one time we were interplanetary. So where are we going? What's the goal here? And like you could see the goalposts for like spiritual evolution, and it's very clear to me that like the electronics and computers and things like that are becoming tools of control. They're not. There's not going to be anything that like enlightens us except what we can make happen from our own will. But like as a general rule, they're there for like uh, mass control and mass surveillance. And we're being slowly but surely like detached from nature and like a natural way. We have like a industrialized view of society now that has come out of the past 150 years, and is this the right way? I don't know. And I think, yes, we have a lot more to do in our own sphere here before we even start thinking about how the rest of this works. But we're in the very, very fundamental stages. We're just fumbling around in the dark, really. And I'd like to see a Messiah that's like conscious of that aspect of reality. Like, I think we're starting to reach a point where we can start building towards something else instead of, like, we finally found a way to maintain our civilizational aspect fairly well. I mean, we have all kinds of stuff that could easily end it. And, like, the protection against that is spiritual evolution. And, yeah, I really think that pretty soon we're going to reach an understanding of, we might even be able to reach different realms, like be able to communicate. Like, we can reach the hell realms and the angelic realms, like, with conscious intent. Oh man, go full goon mode with that. But yeah, we'll keep that going. Um, what was I saying? I think the Antichrist would come in as like really hard to say. I'm very blinded towards like evil, um, and that might even be it. Is like the Antichrist actually brings everybody else down by like making everything so good and comfortable that like we just get like distracted and like comforted out of like a realistic view of life. But like the way I see the world is like very built out and like near completion in a way. Like, we're at the end of a cycle of like it's a make it or break it. Like, we either maintain this level of civilization and this becomes the new foundation, or like it falls apart and we go back to freaking like Middle Ages. And Jason Giorgiani was talking about this, how like a lot of the world is falling back into like a conservative mind space of like not agrarian, but like very conservative, stable society versus like a growth mindset. And compares that like the progressives and futurists now are almost like kamikaze like and suicidal, and they just want to like destroy things more than like have a forethought or like forward thinking. And I could easily see that being like the Antichrist kind of thing. It's like, where it's just like, let it all fucking go, thinking that like the world runs itself, when like the level we're at really does require a lot of maintenance and like upkeep and you got to keep the thing going. You got to keep pedaling. And traditionally, like war is what kept it going. But I think we have an opportunity to kind of shift out of that. Like if we really, if we took a good look at like the results of war and how that like, this is the thing, is war is strange. I don't know whether it's progressive or destructive. Like yes, a lot of people die, but the amount of like innovation that's come from war is incredible. But that, yeah, so like the true cost of war is not good, because like it it like it breeds more destruction, versus like if we took all of our resourcefulness and like forethought into like, all right, we need to, let's just say like, spiritually evolve, and we shift away from wars and we like study the holy text, and it really becomes a fad to be like sinless and like as elevated as possible. What's up, cat? She's sitting like a snake. uh but like we can shift out of the mutual destruction, rebuild, destroy, into like an engineering mind state, and like send like technology to Mars on a more like send a human to Mars and like start building on the moon. Or we can like go inward and start like discovering our like spiritual power, and like, yeah, I think that's highly necessary based on like what technology is doing to people, and like the destructiveness of the like toxic capitalism, which I think is the war machine. That it's just toxic capitalism. Like you need so much that you have to destroy stuff to build it again to get more money. And like we could just as easily shift from like mass production to quality production, and from that quality we develop a finer and finer uh, taste for like what is the finest like quality thing. What is like, what does it mean to be the best? Like right now the best is like you're the richest person or like whatever, and like it's meaningless. But in like the 60s it'd be like, yeah, my car company makes like the sickest car, you know? Or like for a while we had computers like, yeah, my chip manufacturer has the smallest manufacturing process, or like whatever. And like that is like, quality is an aspect of beauty which is equivalent to God. Like godliness and beauty are inseparable. And like the more we hone the blade, the better. And like war is good for competition, but it's in a very toxic way. And I think humanity's suffering massively from it. Like the greatest generation survived World War II, and then like got turned into like factory people, like manufactured people. And now we're kind of like breaking that apart, and like it's good to like think of it as like chipping away rust from a rusted pipe. Like you're getting like the slag off and re-exposing like the good core to give it a recondition. And like I wish there was more thought towards like preservation and like rediscovery of the old. Because who's to say how many different like highly unknown like scientists or philosophers had great ideas that could never be proven, but now like they could be proven by somebody looking back on it, and like it's kind of like a connect the dots, and like a new dot appeared that connects the map. I think that aspect of like reintegration and reobservation over and over could produce new things in science. And like right now, the way society's set up is just like chuck as much shit out as possible. I need the money to survive. Just get it out there. Who gives a fuck how good it is or if it's even true? And like that's incredibly demeaning. Like if you're not making good quality shit, what the fuck are you even doing? You know? And it's not easy to make good quality. Like thank God there are like cultures that still know how to freaking make good stuff. But understanding our relationship from us to the divine and knowing how to observe like our scorecard. Like in the past, there's not really a connection to like God and understanding like how our actions are affecting the divine and how that reflects back down to us. But now we're reaching a point where like everything's so well interconnected, we could easily start like watching how that plays out. Like the schooling I went through and grew up with was like very good if you wanted to be like a materialist, but there was absolutely nothing on like how to be a good human or anything like that. It was just like, you know, very cookie cutter maps of how to be a good human. And the funny thing is, a lot of people who followed that roadmap are now fucked. And yeah, do that hair wiggle. Uh, uh. I hate that shit, man. So many good electronic tracks are just ruined by the dumbest voiceovers. God. There we go. Man. Yeah, bro. Yeah. World is about to be like such high quality of living that like we're just massacring the environment. The fucking soil, man. The soil. Hard. Oh, Jesus. Oh, one second. But yeah, the algorithm is getting wild. And like, dude, there was a period where I'd listen to music and like every song would be a like synchronicity message. And like that one where it's just saying F you over and over. But it like, uh, yeah, I don't know. Like, I hate the freaking, the ego mind, like, I'm better than you, you're a fucking idiot type talk in society and culture. It's literally just toxic garbage when people think like that and talk like that. Laugh when you're up, catch me when you're down, and I'll be there with the backhand. Like, fucking. People think they're invincible. Hard. Fucking hard. But, like, one of the most interesting things I think, if I were Messiah, would be to explain how we create our reality through creativity. And we can easily, like, if you can dream it, you can lay the foundation for it to happen in the future. Like, the book 1984 is a great example of, like, prophetic writing. And, like, I was listening to a video on anthroposophic writers, and there's a way you can have, like, creative imagination that is so high in its thinking level that it becomes, like, co-creative with the universe, and it has to exist because it's so well done. Like, it basically creates like a phantom of what will occur somewhere in the infinite. Like, that's such a cool concept that, like, you can map out a phantom that will become a form. Like, that's the ultimate, like, god level construction. And, like, if we were able to start learning how to do that, and, like, instead of writing dystopia novels, like, think of how we can build a better utopia. Because we are kind of in a utopia. It's pretty damn good. It sucks, but it's good. The old paradox will never let you down, but never let you go. But yeah. It's a spicy meatball. Like, I think, like, movies like Dune and what's that one where it's like on Orion? Or like the game Mass Effect. Like, it's so futuristic and reasonable and, like, co-creatively possible that, like, that easily can become a reality. And, like, we should be doing that, dude. Building freaking dope shit and, like, laying the foundation for an awesome future. Yeah, this song's hard. Oh, oh Jesus. Yeah, like there's a lot of psychologically. I think we could do a lot of development and restructuring so that there's less uh, toxic like patterns that we embody, and like a lot of that would be um, religion blending in with like psychology. And I think like a lot of mental illness is just spiritual like drowning. Like there's no spiritual foundation. And yeah. So yeah, I would see like the Messiah as not a savior, because I don't even think Jesus was a savior. I think that's kind of like a uh, not a fallacy, but escapism. And like there's a way that a prophet isn't so much like a savior figure or like things like that, but somebody who like maps the territory and allows for growth and like prevents stagnation. And I think we're coming towards a place of stagnation simply because like uh, we've reached a plateau on like discovery and like things like that. I mean, there is Antarctica. But Antarctica is going to be a very interesting place in the next 30, 40 years. It already is, but they just don't talk about it. And a lot of archaeology could be done at the poles that would, I think, discover a lot of things, but it's underneath ice. So it makes it a lot harder to do archaeology with ice. Well, that's another thing is like, it'd be super sick to start building underground cities. Not even like for anything necessarily, but like just as like we know from the work of Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson that like we have civilizational cataclysms that come out of nowhere and really mess shit up. And like if we built underground biospheres simply as like a backup, it would produce like an incredibly novel like scenario and like require like very interesting engineering and things like that, but it would provide a backup function. And I think that'd be super freaking cool. Underground cities would be super fucking awesome. Like build an underground city in under the ice, actually, unlike Antarctica, because it would be warmer under the ice. I think that's actually where the interesting stuff is under the ice. Uh, like the submarine base from World War II that the Nazis set up, and generally like because there's like warm pockets from volcanic activity, and yeah, the old beard's freaking hella tangly today. Um, but things like in development like that that are novel and like generate like emotion of like awe could do so much good for the society and prevent like stagnation and fighting and like general like disharmony because it's like as humans most people have a very hard time with like stillness and like rest. There's a difference between like rest and stagnation and the old battery gonna die soon I think. Yeah, get out of the way, get out of the way. Wait, yeah, an hour. Okay, that's cool. And projects like that can be very unifying. Like going to the moon is probably what kept Vietnam from becoming just like another World War II absolute monstrosity. And at the very least, it was like what held the country together in a way. And we could use that. We could use a lot more of that. Bing, ding, bing, ding, bing, ding, bing, ding, bing, ding, bing, ding. Hard. I don't know who Kate is, but all right. Uh, oh no, don't do this. This is a terrible idea. Music is a trip, man. Some people literally get signed with like the absolute dumbest shit, and I'm like, how the fuck did you get it? How did you get this music pressed? But yeah, mosiach. One of the craziest things about the way like so the Jews talk about the Torah, and then anytime you watch like a Torah study video, the entire wall behind them is books, and the Torah is not like a freaking library. I so if you start really digging into Judaism, you start understanding that like they have this massive codex that like decodes the way reality will unfold, and like it's kind of like if A equals B, then the result will be F, and if A equals C, the result will be D, or like whatever, and like it's basically like a prophecy machine, and it's so interesting that that exists, and I would love to learn it. And it's a non-Gentile thing. I'd have to convert and learn Hebrew. I was watching a super advanced one, and it was like every other word was a Hebrew word, and I couldn't even understand the video. The video, it was like every other. It was like three words of English, then a Hebrew word, and then two words of English, then a Hebrew word. It's just like what is this? What is this? And I find that so incredible, though. The way Judaism is like, the way they teach it, they're able to like, they still use their home language. We kind of have that thing where like French words are known in the English language. Like there's a lot of like joie de vivre, and that's not how you pronounce it. And oh, I can't even think of any examples right now. Uh, yeah, but the bending of languages together is so awesome, and like that illustrates a capacity that we could totally dive into, and like uh, through knowledge and focus on learning instead of like destruction and warfare, we can build in a much more harmonious fashion. And the only reason that doesn't happen is because of greed and like the pressure of the state. Yeah, there we go. Now we're picking up on the mic. And yeah. But the way I see it is like the Antichrist would actually come with like not even warfare necessarily, but just like more stagnation and crystallization and toxification and stagnation. Like it'd be like a river that gets a log jam and it gets all freaking foggy and nasty. That's how I envision the Antichrist. Is it creates like a stagnation of society where like there's no longer a natural flowing system, and like it becomes incredibly like crystallized. Like for example, like I don't know, like a group of businessmen decide to like start bankrupting a country, and then the people get their wealth sucked into this like business group, and this business group doesn't invest, they only hold. They just create like massive holdings. That's how I would picture the Antichrist versus like a Messiah would bring like new ideas and development and create a flowing system. Oh, let's just not do that. Let's not do that either. God damn it. And definitely out of place artifact. Yes, more Miss Kitten. I love her. She's an awesome DJ. And yeah. More production, more growth. Preserve the artifacts. Increase the archives. Put people into those archives. Well, and actually, a really interesting idea I was thinking about was like developing a scientific group that like grabs incomplete scientific thought and like puts it on a display for like other scientific thinkers to take a crack at finishing the theories and theorems, and like basically like a recycling center for like ideas that like there's something to them but they're incomplete, and like inventions as well. That could be super fucking awesome. fucking LEDs, man, be flickering. But yeah, this is one of the things I find most interesting about Hasidism or Hasidic Judaism is they like they picked an aspect out of their Kabbalistic tree of life called Chabad, which is Chokmah, Bina, and Doth. And those three things symbolize like the human mind and intellect. And like they almost worship that aspect of like the tree of life and like bring resonance to that through like um, I don't know whether they're like knowledge driven. They're not emotionally driven, so it would make sense. And I think that's so cool. Like if there was a Christianity that was like focused purely on like love and like tried to figure out like they just learned everything about love and promoted everything about love. I think that's so cool. That's the way like sects of religion should be. Like the Orthodox focus on like chants, monasticism, and like incense and like symbolism, like iconography. I think that's so awesome. And like the Catholics are much more on like intellect, I'd say. Anyway, so more on the Antichrist versus the Messiah. So the Messiah would connect people together and bring people together, and the Antichrist would do that in a false manner where they just connect like power sources, and that ends up like crushing the population through like a hardening instead of like congealing like a clay ball. Like there's not enough water in the clay, so it just becomes a dense rock. And yeah, it's very hard to like think in these abstract fashions on like how a Messiah would like bring change or like how you bring change in a productive manner that like doesn't disturb people but is like uplifting. And I love thinking about it a lot. I love thinking, man. I love thinking. It's so cool. The brain, the mind states you can get into is so incredible. And I mean, it's literally the source of reality, and the like everything starts there. Like if we didn't have any awareness, you couldn't even be aware of nothingness. I heard that recently. That's a very deep spiritual idea. And like awareness is the foundation of all things. Like a chimney, let's keep chiefing. And I really need to study Chinese mysticism more. And it's really not very well known in the West. Like we barely, Alan Watts kind of got into Taoism. Like Alan Watts is one of the only people who like dove into like Chinese mysticism. Like there's a lot of people that get into like Buddhism, a lot of people that get into Hinduism, but hardly any in like Tao and like the I Ching and these kind of like uh, Chinese mystical practices. And there's China has such a massive history. It's a utter shame how poorly understood it is here. They have so much to teach us, and there's like very little intellectual uh, exchange. I think that in a diplomatic sense, the uh, health between the healthy interaction between China and the U.S. could be much stronger if we found a way to like get past the communist like locking in and open them up and like understand who they are more. Like learn the way of life, understand the way they think. China's an enigma. I've tried to do research on China, but it's very you can only scratch the surface, or at least I have. And there's not very much like university level study that's trickled out of the universities, which is a shame because it's an immense culture. Immense. Russia's unique because it kind of got Europeanized. If that's a word, it's not. But the royal families from Germany uh, connected into the czars, and that kind of made Russia and Europe mix a little bit. So there's like a fairly decent understanding of Russian culture. But China is still very, very mysterious. Like, India is very interconnected as well with us, and the cultural flourishing melting pot has really gone well with India. So yeah, Messiah, man. I think Messiah would produce healthier ways of societal interaction, and we could use that massively. Like our societies become toxic and like backbiting and like people freaking gossiping and like calling each other out and like infighting and bullshitting, and we got to get out of that. I'm fucking tired of that. All these motherfuckers think they're somebody, and they're nobody. And they would never understand what I meant by that. Become a nobody. That's where your power lies. Become nothing. Woo! That's a spicy one. And like, yeah. So I think I'll leave it there. It's about 3 minutes. I'm out of steam. I can't really think much more on Messiah versus Antichrist. I think Antichrist actually could be considered like the panopticon. And he wants to be God, but is not. Like it's going to come in this century, and it will be the result of the New Age spirituality where people say, I'm God, and like like there is no invisible force behind that actually is God. It's all this materium. And luckily, I think we're gonna hopefully be able to like break that before it grows too big into like a toxic shitball. It's our duty, man. You see something corrupted and like becoming stagnant, smash it apart, send it down the river, down to the fire. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this is hard as fuck. ripping it. We'll leave it there for tonight. And let me know what you think, even though nobody will be listening because I'm in the shadow box. Peace the fuck out.